Hello and welcome to everyone across the nation joining today's workshop on how to create testing sessions. This is Martha Perez with the CASAS Technology Support Team, and I will be presenting today's workshop. This workshop focuses on using CASAS eTests Online to establish template to ensure standardized test delivery among a set of customized sessions based on recommended best practices from the field. A certified coordinator performs these steps. This is one of 23 complimentary CASAS Online Implementation Basics workshops. We highly recommend attending as many workshops as possible to learn about best practices and ask questions to become confident in using the online system. Online help is available on our website from training and support for eTests Online and TOPS Pro Enterprise. You will want to be sure and bookmark these as your electronic go-to resources. Electronic resources are updated periodically, so going to them will help to ensure you are receiving the most current information. Information for today's workshop comes from eTests Online, Help, Training and Support, eTests Online Help, CASAS eTests Online Guide. Section 3.2, Creating Sessions. Again, you will want to bookmark this as an electronic resource. Okay. The guide has hyperlinks throughout to help you move quickly between sections. All right, folks. You can also search keywords to pinpoint specific information. Okay. Now, before we get started, I want to be sure and point out where you will find access to TOPS Pro Enterprise, as well as eTests Online. Notice the URLs I just pasted in the chat box. Now, this is the main domain name address that you will use when your agency is set up with an online database. This is commonly referred to as the production server, where live data is produced. For today's workshop, we will be using a simulation server. This is available to anyone wanting to experiment and explore our online system without risk of compromising live data. You will find information on how to access the simulation server on our website from Training and Support, eTests Online Help, Getting Started, and download the simulation server document. All right? Well, let's begin, and please feel free to ask questions along the way. All right? Now, creating sessions is a one-time task, as when registering computers. Only certified coordinators may create and edit testing sessions. Okay. After sessions are created, they are ready to use whenever testing is needed without having to create new sessions. Now, coordinators create sessions through the CASAS Online Management Console. To begin creating sessions, launch the web browser and enter the URL. Well, in this case, we are using the Rolling Hills Simulation Server. Now, from the main domain web page, click Sign In. Now, the coordinator enters his user credentials. The agency ID is provided or issued by CASAS. Now, for the simulation server, enter 4908. The username is issued by the agency. Okay. We recommend the email address used for certification. Now, for the simulation server, you can either enter a generic account for coordinators, such as, and choose a number from 1 to 50 after the word coordinator. Now, for example, I put coordinator 15 at rhas.org. The password is typically issued by the agency. Now, for the simulation server, you're going to use the word coordinator, all lowercase, for the coordinator accounts. After entering your user credentials, click the Login button. All right. From Application Management, click the Testing Sessions menu. Now, a list of testing sessions displays. This is commonly referred to as the Testing Sessions lister. By default, the list is filtered by available sessions in the current program year, by site, and by session name. Each of these columns are clickable to change the sort order. This list will continue to grow as sessions are added. Now, per site and per lab at each site. We will talk more about each session as we create them. Now, the first session we will create is to establish a program year template and baseline configuration to ensure standardized test delivery for programs using NRS-approved assessments. Now, from this template, we will create a set of sessions based on recommended best practices from the field. Now, we will spend the most time configuring the first session in the set. All other sessions added in the set require only just minor edits. Okay? Now let's get started and click Create New Sessions at bottom of the Testing Sessions lister. Now a new session window opens to edit session details in user edit mode. As you can see, we can edit any of these fields. All right? Now, and combined session template configuration. With this session, we are establishing the template. Now, afterwards, we will customize a set of sessions. But now to start, we're going to enter the template name at left. Now, to establish a program year template, enter 2014-15. Now, from this point forward, the template name and template configuration should not be changed, should not. All right? When customizing sets of sessions sharing the same template. Now, doing so will result in non-standardized test delivery. Now, to continue, click the drop-down arrow to select a site. Okay. Sites are set up by CASAS from information submitted by the agency through the online site agreement. Okay. After establishing a program year template and customizing a set of sessions at one site, the set may be copied to establish the template and set of sessions at other sites. Now, session templates are site-specific. Any edit you do or any edit to a template will only affect sessions within the same site. Now, the first session in a set of sessions sharing the same template establishes the template configuration, at the same time creating a baseline and session configuration. The template configuration is your baseline for all programs and for all circumstances to specify what and how tests are delivered and what is collected and displayed during test delivery. After the session is saved, the template and baseline session is established. Now, from this point forward, any edit made to the template configuration will simultaneously affect all sessions sharing the same template, but only within the site, the same site. Now, this baseline session is one of 3 intake sessions and will be one of the most used sessions. Now, intake sessions allow new student records to be added at time of testing and align with the recommended CASAS intake process for accurate test results and program placement. Now, at right of the Edit Session Details screen, enter the session description. I'll write intake, locator plus pretest. Okay. If you have more than one lab at the site, add the lab name at the beginning of the description. Now, each lab must have its own set of sessions for proctors to manage test administration with stations registered in the lab. Now, the recommended validity period for all sessions for proctors, so for all sessions in the program is the current program year or the date range. Now, this allows you to use the same session throughout the program year whenever testing is needed. Now, to set the program year date range, click the drop-down menu in the From field. Okay, so we're going to select July 1st, 2014. The to date defaults to the end of the current program year, as you can see. Now, sessions may be copied to prepare for the new program year without having to recreate sessions. When copied, edit the template name with the new program year and date range. Okay. The first tab to configure specifies what gets delivered to all programs using NRS-approved assessments. Now, this involves the test series and modalities. Now, from the Modalities tab, click or check the reading. From the drop-down menu, select Life and Work Test Series. Now, by default, the Short Computer Adaptive Test, or CAT, known as a Reading Locator Form 102R, is automatically set as a short appraisal to determine and present an appropriate level reading pretest in the same sitting. Now check Math. Again, from the drop-down menu, select the Life Skills Math 30 series. And now by default, the Math Locator Form 102M is automatically set to determine and present an appropriate level math pretest in the same sitting. Now check Listening. From the drop-down menu, select Life and Work Listening 980 series. And the Listening Locator Form 89L is automatically set, and a pretest will be administered in the same sitting. The Listening Locator is a short computer-based test, or CBT, and is not adaptive. The next tab sets options for how tests are delivered. Now, the online system uses a three-state model for settings: a dash, checked, or empty box. Now, by default, in user edit mode, all boxes display with a dash to indicate no specific setting. Inherited mode lets you see default system settings that sessions will inherit unless enabled or disabled in user edit mode. A checked box represents a setting that is enabled. An empty box is a disabled setting. Now, in effective mode, you will see a combination of both user edit and system inherited default settings combined. By default, saved sessions open in effective mode. We will apply only 2 edits from the Options tab based on recommended best practices from the field. Because the I don't know button is not enabled when or with a check by default, we will enable it in the edit mode. Now the I don't know on locator or appraisal button will allow students to skip a test item on computer adaptive tests. Otherwise, they are required to respond to each item. Now, users from the field believe this helps to ensure accurate locator results for determining an appropriate level pretest. Now, because the online system tracks students and programs across all sites and classes through a unique ID, allows students to select class from other sites. To assign classes to tests is no longer necessary. Now, without this restriction, users from the field welcome the flexibility of using test results for multiple programs and classes. So we will apply these two recommended settings in user edit mode. We will check the allow I don't know on locator appraisal and clear the box on allow student to select class from other sites. To select class from other sites. We'll clear that. To verify settings applied on the Options tab, we will click the Effective button or the Effective mode to see a combination of user edit and inherited defaults all combined. All right, now note the standard test administration times are inherited. Okay. Now, the Registration tab, our next tab, specifies what is collected with test delivery. As seen from the Options tab, registration settings is also displayed with a dash on Edit mode. So click the Inherited mode to see default system settings. Okay. Now, users from the field highly recommend collecting student information for assurance of data integrity and for program evaluation and analysis. Now, because these are not enabled by default, we will enable 3 recommended settings in user edit mode. Now, we're going to check collect student demographics, collect statuses and goals, collect zip code, and collect ward if applicable. Now, in the near future, we will be adding data collection fields to collect and record, such as social security number, address, phone, and email. So you will see them displayed here. Now, the last tab we will configure while establishing the program year template and baseline session is the Layout tab. This is to specify what displays during and at the end of the test delivery. Now, this includes toolbar display options and end test display options. Now, let's first look at the inherited default settings to understand what already displays on the test screen before making any edits. Now, as you will see, most of the settings are enabled for the retractable toolbar. The end test report, known as personal score report, automatically displays at the end of a test with the print button. Okay. Now, this is a summary of the student's performance on the test with recommended settings already enabled by default. We will apply 2 recommended settings to the toolbar in user edit mode based on best practices from the field. Now, we're going to check Show Toolbar Pinned and clear the dash to disable Show Form Number. Okay. Now, because students may unpin and pin the toolbar throughout test delivery, users believe drawing the student's attention to the information when they begin the test, it is really helpful. Now, users also believe that not showing the form number during test delivery will help minimize sharing answers. We will not be making any edits on the admin tab. Okay. Now these settings generally remain as is unless there is a specific need to edit. Now the default 1-day setting between tests of the same modality and repeating the same test is intentional to help proctors manage testing, okay? Now, in other words, when a student finishes a test, the test button becomes disabled for 1 day. Now, before we save the program year template and baseline session, we will preview user edits combined with system inherited default settings in the effective mode. Now you can click the Layout tab and preview. Click the Registration tab, preview, all in effective mode. Click Options tab and preview. And click Modalities at last and preview. Now all looks good, so we will now save the template and the session configuration. Now that the hard work is behind us and the template and baseline session is established, remaining sessions in this set require only minor edits. Okay, so from the testing sessions list, you can click, this is our session. So click the copy button from the intake locator plus pretest. Okay, this session and to add a second intake session to deliver level A tests. Now we're going to rename this session to intake level A. Okay. Now from the modalities tab for reading, we're going to click the drop-down menu and select form to override with. From the pop-up window, we will click the 081R, which is a Life and Work Reading Level A fixed form, and then click the Select button at the pop-up window at the bottom of it. Now for math, we're going to click the drop-down menu and select form to override with. We will then select the Form 31M Life Skills Math Level A fixed form. Okay. And then click the Select button at the bottom of the pop-up window. Now for listening, click the drop-down arrow menu and then select form to override with. We will click the 981 Life and Work Listening Form 91 fixed form and then click the Select button at the bottom of the pop-up menu. Now only 2 edits are needed in the Options tab. Uncheck and clear dash for Allow I Don't Know on Locator or Appraisal, and check Hide Practice Tests. Users recommend hiding practice tests for this session to simplify the test menu at this level, and because students will have already been introduced to the test screen when following the intake process as outlined for ABE and ELL programs. Now the intake level A session will inherit all other template settings, so no other edits are needed. All that will display on the test menu is the reading, math, and listening button for level A forms. I will do the edits right now. Clear that box and check the hide practice tests. Now click the Save button at the bottom of the Edit Session Details screen. Now we will create the third intake session and continue building the set of sessions sharing the same template by copying. Okay, by copying, we benefit with settings already applied to previously configured sessions as we add more. Now click copy from the intake level A session to add the beginning literacy reading intake session. And we will rename this intake session to a beginning literacy, right? From the modalities tab, for reading, we're going to click the drop-down menu and select Form to Override with. We will click on the Form 27R, Form 27 right here, Life Skills Reading and Beginning Literacy Fixed Form, and click the Select button at the bottom of the menu. Now from the pop-up window, sorry for that. For math, we're going to click the drop-down menu and select Series Only Practice by default. Now, beginning literacy forms are not available for math. The math practice test setting on the modalities tab plus the height practice test on the options tab will cancel out each other so that no math button displays on the test menu. Now for listening, click the drop-down menu and select Series Only Practice by default. Beginning literacy forms are also not available for listening. Just like math, no listening button will display on the test menu with combined settings on modalities and options tab, right? Now the intake session or the intake beginning literacy session that we just created will inherit all other template settings, so no other edits are needed. All that will display on the test menu is the reading button for Form 27. So now click Save at bottom of the Edit Session Details screen. Now all three intake sessions align with the recommended CASAS intake process for accurate test results and program placement. Now the most used sessions will be the intake locator plus pretest session and the post-test session, which is the next session we will add. Now the post-test session locks creation of new student records so that students must enter a pre-existing ID to ensure they are presented with the appropriate level post-test based on their most recent test recorded in the online database. Now the recommendation is to post-test after 70 to 100 hours of instruction. Now 40 hours between pre and post tests is the minimum allowed by NRS to document learning gains. Now from the testing sessions list, click copy on the intake beginning literacy session to add the post-test session. Excuse me. Now rename this session to post-test. Okay. Now from the modalities tab, we're going to uncheck reading, uncheck math, and uncheck listening. This allows the session to inherit modalities or to inherit a modality settings from the template. Now students will not take another locator even though the template setting includes it. Now the test series locator plus the locator setting is what causes the alternating effect of always presenting the next appropriate test level based on the most recent test results. Now the online system automatically assigns the next test form. For more information is available on our website for next assigned test charts. Now from the registration tab, only one edit is necessary. Okay. To avoid the risk of duplicated student records with mismatched test history. Now, check lock creation of new students. Okay, now no other edits are needed for post-test session because it will inherit all other template settings. Now click the Save button at the bottom of the Edit Session Details screen. All right, I'm going to take a few more minutes of your time, folks. This is to ensure establish a good template session for your agency. Now, the next session to add is the set in this set is to allow retesting in the same day. Now this session will give you the opportunity to retest students on the same day if their pre or post-test score is below the accurate range, or these scores are displayed with an asterisk and retesting is required. And also if conservative estimate, it has a score, conservative estimate. Now these scores are displayed with a diamond symbol, and retesting is recommended but may be required in your state. So now from the testing sessions list, click Copy on the post-test session to add the retest same day session. Rename the session description to Retest Same Day. I will capitalize that. Okay. Now from the Modalities tab, uncheck Reading, uncheck Math, and uncheck Listening. The session will inherit modality settings from the template. Now, only one edit is necessary to allow retesting in the same day, and that is from the Admin tab. For days between tests in the same modality, we're going to enter 0. Okay? Now, no other edits are needed for the retest same day session because it too will inherit all other template settings. Now, click the Save button at the bottom of the Edit Session Details screen. Now next we will add a session to address students who return after being absent from instruction. Now NRS recommends after 90 or more days to administer another appraisal to determine the appropriate level test at time of return. Now when the student returns, the locator is given again to determine the next appropriate test. Now, by design, the online system will not automatically administer the locator again. Now, we have to apply a setting to allow this, and from the testing sessions list, click Copy on the Retest Same Day session to add the returning students session. Now, rename the session description to Returning After 90 plus days. Absence. Okay. This distinguishes a session from the post-test session where students actively receiving instruction are tested to measure progress. Now from the Modalities tab, we will uncheck Reading, uncheck Math, and uncheck Listening. So now the session will inherit modality settings from the template. And from the Options tab, apply 3 edits to return dashes in the box for Allow I Don't Know and on locator appraisal setting so that session inherits the enabled setting from the template. And check Use locator or appraisal on next test to force the online system to administer the locator again. Now return the dash in the box for high practice test to inherit the template setting that will allow returning students to review test delivery before testing. Now this is specifically helpful if a lot of time passed from when the student last tested. Now from the Admin tab, the one edit that needs to be done is to remove the 0 between modalities. Okay, so we will just remove it so that session defaults to template settings or to template settings. Now no other edits are needed, and returning students the returning student session will inherit all other settings from the template. The test menu will deliver and display the same as the intake locator plus pre-test session, with the exception that it locks creation of new students that requires returning students to enter a pre-existing ID to avoid duplicate records of the same student. Now click the Save button at the bottom of the Edit Session Detail screen. Now the Registration tab the registration session affords you the opportunity to separate the registration process from the testing process, giving you undivided time with students to assist them in applying responses and addressing questions. Now, you can refer to data collection details on our website or in the online user guide. Now, if you see the registration session, data collection screens are skipped during an intake session, and students begin testing after entering an ID. If you do not use the registration session, students will complete the registration process during an intake session before they begin testing. Now, from the testing sessions menu, click Copy on the registration. We're going to click Copy on the returning after 90 plus days of absence. Returning students. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. Let me go back here for just a moment. Yeah, returning. Click Copy on this one. Now, for the Modalities tab, for reading, we will click the drop-down arrow, drop-down menu, and choose Select Series Only Practice by default. Oops, didn't mean to click on that. I meant to click on Select Series Only Practice by default. All sessions must have modalities enabled. Now, with registration, students have the opportunity to practice test delivery before actual testing. For math, click the drop-down menu and choose Select Series Only Practice by default. Again, for listening, select the drop-down menu and select Series Only Practice by default. From the options, 3 edits are needed to uncheck and clear a dash. So uncheck and clear the dash for Allow I Don't Know on Locator or Appraisal, since this does not apply to practice tests. Now check Allow I Don't Know on Pre-Post Test to mimic answer choices on locators, and uncheck and return dash to use locator appraisal for next test. Leave the dash. From the registration tab, apply one edit to uncheck and return dash to lock creation of new students so that the new student records may be added to your online database during registration. Now remove dash for an empty box to disable collect program information, since program placement is yet to be determined. Now from the Layout tab, we're going to one final edit, do this one, and this remains to remove the dash from Show Remaining Time. Where's my remaining time? Okay, we will disable this. Now, practice tests mimic pre-post testing with standard 60 minutes test time. Showing remaining time for a 6 or 9 item practice test may alarm students if they saw this amount of time. Now, no other edits are needed for registration with practice tests, so we will go ahead and save this session. All right, folks, we have run out of time. I would appreciate if you would stay with me 5 more minutes, if that is okay, to continue with my last session that I'm going to set up really quick here. Now, this last session is set as for practice tests, okay? Practice tests may be administered only one time and multiple times. Now, no results are recorded, okay? No results are recorded. The purpose of practice tests is to introduce students to CASAS web-based test delivery and not for determining basic skills. Now, lab assistants may allow students to practice anytime, and instructors may incorporate practice in classroom sessions. Now, from the testing sessions list, click Copy from the Registration with Practice, and I believe this is the Registrations with Practice. I just did not edit the name. Wish I should have. So I'm just going to edit this name and say Practice Tests. Okay. From the Registration tab, make 5 edits to disable data collection screens by unchecking Collect Statuses and Goals, Collect Zip Code, Collect Word. Oh, actually double click to display empty boxes and collect program information and collect student demographics. So as with all other sessions in this set, the practice test inherits all other settings from the template. And that will display on the test menu is reading, math, and listening button for practice tests. Right? Now click the Save button, and that is a done deal. Now you have 8 testing session records added to your online database for one lab at one site. Now additional sets of sessions must be added if you have more than one lab at each site. Now session descriptions, not the template, should include the lab name to identify a set of sessions per lab at each site. So right now, does anybody have any questions on this information that I've shared? All right, folks, I appreciate very much you staying with me along all this workshop. But before I let you go, now that you have a standardized set of sessions sharing the same template, you can quickly add sets to other sites. Now, the first session copied to a different site establishes a template at that site. Therefore, copying sets of sessions in the same order as created is very important. Okay, so at last, as the list of available testing session grows, you will want to train proctors to use filtering and minimizing the list to display sessions only available at the site and the lab where they will administer tests. For instance, you can also set on the description, you can say contains. To display the intake sessions, I will type the intake word in the session description and refresh, retract my filter, and I will display all the sessions that have the intake or there are intake sessions. These are the ones that I created by establishing the 2014-15 template. These were already established in the simulation server. Now, we are piloting setting sessions for you. So, however, the information that I've shared today on setting up testing sessions, it's important. And if you have, to help you understand setting up sessions. So these will be preset for you by CASAS. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap it up? All right, folks, now I'll take that as a no. Now, each workshop in a set of CASAS online workshops, implementation basics workshops, builds on the last in a logical progression for helping you to get up and running with the online system. Now, if you miss a workshop, we posted a playlist from the past recordings on our website from training and support, CASAS ETAS online help, CASAS online implementation basics. You can also access it from our social media newsroom and click on the YouTube channel. Okay. Now I am going to paste some important information from our CASAS Technology support team who is available for you from 8 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, and addressing the group, the techsupport@casas.org email will alert a support team that includes several members to ensure and give you a timely response. All right, folks. Well, we look forward to joining us for the next workshop on how to manage testing sessions. And thank you for your time. This concludes the workshop on how to create testing sessions.